Recently, there's been a lot of discussion surrounding art styles for Sonic. It seems that it's a topic that almost nobody can agree on since there's been countless different interpretations for Sonic over the lifespan of the franchise. Should Sonic return to the whimsical and vibrant environments of the classic Sonic games? Maybe he should return to Sonic Adventure's art style with realism that greatly exaggerates many of its elements. Or maybe, if you are crazy enough, you could suggest we follow the simplistic and colorful art style that is present in games like Sonic Lost World. Like I said, the options of art styles present in the Sonic series is endless, and it's really hard to pinpoint which one is the definitive one, especially since most people who have grown up with the series have already identified themselves with a different series aesthetic. Personally, I do not have an issue with a Sonic game pursuing different art styles. It's not really what makes or breaks a game for me. However, I do have a preference in art style, and I think in this moment of time, it's important for us to get our perspectives on how the Sonic series should look, since Sonic Team appears to be acknowledging criticism recently. Maybe what we say might have an influence on the next Sonic game. So this video is just me giving my 2 cents on what the Sonic franchise should look like. Disclaimer, I'm not being objective at all with this video, so do not take it like that. It's my opinion. Relax. Anyways, before we can get into the video, we have a word from today's sponsor. I've been playing video games my whole life, and I feel that is something that almost everyone watching this video could relate to. And if I had the experience or knowledge on how to make one, best believe I would have some great ideas for my favorite genre being platformers. But what if you had the knowledge and experience to create your own video games and turn it into an actual career with opportunities for growth? If that sounds exciting, then let me tell you about Southern New Hampshire University, who is sponsoring today's video. I want to talk to you about their game development program. In this program, you'll learn how to create realistic, dynamic gameplay experiences with game AI, game physics, 2D and 3D graphics, and interface design. You'll also learn computer programming languages like C++, C#, and Java. And you'll learn 3D modeling and texturing with game art software. You will learn how to research, develop, and contribute to advances and trends within the field of game programming. Courses are taught by faculty with real-world experience. And finally, SNHU is radically affordable and their online tuition rates are some of the lowest in the nation. Go to snhu.edu/Matthasnocuts, also linked in my description, to see what the current average salary for a programmer is and request free information about the program. When you request information, a real person will hop on a call and discuss how the program can benefit you personally. It only takes one click to find your calling. Thank you for sponsoring today's video, SNHU. Before we can start talking about what the definitive Sonic art style is, we need to determine what makes an art style unappealing. As we all kinda know, when Sonic made the jump to 3D, the visuals of Sonic's world took a very different direction. If you look back at the classic Sonic games, there were plenty of zones that were very colorful with checkerboard patterns and beautiful landscapes. The art direction of these games is honestly dang near perfect, and it's responsible for some of the most iconic video game levels of all time. There's Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant, Stardust Speedway, Hydro City, and the list goes on. So, in reality, Sega probably should just stayed with this art style, right? Well, here's the thing. I feel like it's a bit too late, you know? Let me explain. When making the jump into 3D, Sonic Team wanted to take the Sonic franchise down a more story-focused and edgier direction. Thus, the art style present in the Sonic Adventure games was something more resembling real life. There were realistic cities with cars and humans. While changing the art direction may seem like the wrong decision at the time, it ultimately set a precedent for the rest of the Sonic franchise. In our current day and age, Sonic is a video game character that is known to reside within a realistic environment. Sure, Green Hill Zone is iconic, but more people today identify themselves with the green-eyed modern Sonic than classic Sonic, whether you like it or not. And the thing about modern Sonic is that he's pretty much always been in realistic environments. So this franchise is more than familiar with the realistic take on Sonic's world, especially if you factor in all of the new fans who came to the franchise through the movies. So trying to deviate from modern Sonic and return to the classic Sonic art style is just doing a disservice to a lot of Sonic fans. especially since modern Sonic has already been established as an edgier version of the character. Going back to an art style that emphasizes the cuteness and whimsical aspects that Sonic once had is gonna feel weird, you know? Like, how is Sonic supposed to have a climactic story in a place like Green Hill Zone? It just doesn't blend well. I mean, even with a game like Sonic Heroes, which takes a lot of inspiration from early classic Sonic games, that game also had to dumb down the story to make it fit more appropriately. It's clear that when you make a Sonic game with an art style that emphasizes the cuteness and whimsical aspects, it's ultimately going to focus on the youngest of demographics. The biggest example of this is Sonic Colors, and I can tell you that a lot of people did not like that art style. So while I love the classic Sonic art style, and trust me, I really do, I've made a whole video about it, I simply don't think it fits with the current direction of the series. We're going to need something a bit edgier. Let's get this right off the bat since we're talking about it. We're going to need a Sonic art style that has realistic elements. It doesn't necessarily have to be pinpoint perfect realism. We definitely do not need a Sonic game looking like The Last of Us. However, we need some of those realistic elements to satisfy the edgier aspects of modern Sonic. So I think we should rule out any possibility of a Sonic game looking anything like Sonic Lost World and certain aspects of Sonic Forces. Sonic should not be running next to trees that are cube-like with very sharp edges. Those trees need branches. Sonic Lost World proved better than any Sonic game that it's really hard to tell a serious story with a cartoony art direction. Like, you seriously expect me to take this drama seriously when we're in a fun, playful beach world? You kidding me, right? So we've just established that the next Sonic game needs a realistic art style. But how realistic are we talking? I believe there are about 3 different versions of the realistic Sonic art style. You have games like the Sonic Adventure games where those games have realistic elements but are ultimately exaggerated. Like, sure, you may be in San Francisco, which is a very real place, but you're being chased down by an impossibly large semi-truck. Tell me the last time you've seen that happen. Next, you have the very real realism, where very few aspects are exaggerated, and it appears that Sonic is genuinely striving for the Last of Us type graphics. The games that follow this formula is Sonic 06 and Sonic Frontiers. Both of these games don't really exaggerate anything about the world. Sonic 06 has a few loops, and that's about it. Sonic Frontiers has no loops, no wacky parts of the terrain, nothing is exaggerated aside from maybe a few areas of the game where there's a floating ancient temple and whatnot. But overall, it's a pretty real game, you know? Then finally you have Pixar realism, which is only featured in Sonic Unleashed. You could kinda place this in the same category as the Sonic Adventure games, but honestly, on second thought, I don't think I would. Basically, in Sonic Unleashed, you have realistic environments that are very exaggerated. For example, you'll see a million different highways stacked on top of each other in Skyscraper Scamper, things like that. The reason why I call this Pixar realism is because on top of the realistic exaggerated art style, the characters also look really cartoonish. A creator I know, Luke Station, even he pointed this out in his recent Sonic character design video. The modern Sonic model from Sonic Unleashed looks like a Pixar character. Okay. But which art style is the best? Well, I think there's only one correct answer to this, and it's the Adventure games art style. Alright, look, I love Sonic Unleashed, it's my favorite Sonic game. But that art style is a bit too strict. You can't really fit obscure places within Sonic Unleashed. Like, try putting Windy Valley from Sonic Adventure or Grand Metropolis from Sonic Heroes into Sonic Unleashed. It's not going to work. Then you have the art direction that strives for realism. This one is just boring. I don't want my Sonic game to look cute and colorful like Sonic Lost World, but I also don't want my game to look bleak and mundane. Sonic Frontiers was not a colorful game, and I didn't like that. Sonic games are supposed to be visually pleasing. If Sonic Frontiers World doesn't look exciting for my eyes to look at, then I'm not gonna like it. Same thing with Sonic 06, it just looks meh. I want more bright colors in my Sonic game. Where are they at? So that leaves us with the Sonic Adventure art style, and I have a lot to say about this one. The reason why I chose this art style is not because I'm biased towards the adventure games or anything like that. It's mainly because the art style of these games can maintain the edge modern Sonic is known for without restricting it too much. Like, for example, in Sonic Adventure, there are a lot of conflicting environments. Sonic is in a nice, colorful city. Next thing you know, he's in the sky on a floating road. Or he's in a minecart ride in what seems to be space, which leads to a super colorful and dangerous theme park. Twinkle Park is exactly what I want from a Sonic art style. This is a random place based off the real world that is exaggerated to the maximum. There's dangerous enemies here, bowling alleys that allow you to use yourself, random slopes here placed conveniently for Sonic. These are not things you can find in the real world, and that is what makes it so cool in my opinion. Sonic Adventure 2 does the same thing like I said before, but it's kinda toned down. I want that wacky stuff, man. If it ain't wacky, I don't want it. I believe this should be the formula for making a good art style for Sonic. Sonic games should have a ton of realistic elements such as cities, cars, humans, etc. However, you should stylize that realism. Look at Emerald Coast. It's a bright and colorful beach with dolphins jumping and loop-de-loops around every corner. Or Ice Cap when Sonic is riding a snowboard down a giant mountain with jets shooting explosions everywhere. Meanwhile, if you pay attention to the side, you can see villages with colorful blimps flying high up in the sky. The casino level feels like if Sega turned Looney Tunes into anime. The slot machines drop rings when you hit them, and there's a comically large claw that takes all of Sonic's rings. You can't make this up. Then you have Windy Valley, which is a floating abandoned grassy landscape with roads and windmills everywhere. Imagine playing a new open zone Sonic game where Sonic had to explore a floating open zone that looked like Windy Valley. I'm not gonna cap. That would be peak fiction. Like, you can't make a Sonic game look more fun than that. Overall, I love how not strict this art style is. Sonic Adventure isn't supposed to have consistency, and that's the point. I want an open zone Sonic game where Sonic explores a city in the same game where he explores floating islands with cherry blossom trees. That's a weird dream I have, but I want it. Will it happen though? I don't know. Maybe. I think the next Sonic game could benefit a lot from an art style similar to Sonic Adventure. However, I don't think it's necessary. The game can be perfectly fine with or without attractive visuals. However, the art style of a video game does matter. It's part of what creates distinct memories for everyone to remember these games by. So, I do think that they should really take into consideration on how they should make this game look. While I'm not the biggest fan of Sonic Frontiers' art direction, it doesn't bother me too much. It doesn't destroy my experience with the game, and I've expressed that before. But the fact that so many people felt disjointed when seeing the visuals of the game should be a telling sign that something needs to change. Anyways, that's all I really have to say about the subject. I hope you guys enjoyed, and with that said, I love you guys. Peace out. My chill members are Gamer Blake 90, Speeder Light, Snack Pigeon, Snicks, ArchXYZ, Bananas, JNXV, Junior Ring, Sonic-Man715, Sonic Up, Chip Chap Chop, The Squeaker Nerd, Super Shacks Boom, Sonic Extreme, and Super Saiyan Sonic. Thank you all for supporting my channel. Make sure to click one of the in-card screen videos here. I love you guys. Peace out.